What just screams, this couple isn't going to make it. One party making a whole fuckton of concessions for the other, and that being unidirectional. One person is compromising, but the other is just taking and getting everything they want with no compromise in return. Desperate people let themselves get taken advantage of because they're worried they'll never find another partner, or they'll be too old to have kids soon, or whatever. The moment someone who isn't selfish comes along to attract the downtrodden partner, or when the selfish prick hits them or some other such Rubicon crossing, the relationship falls apart like wet tissue paper. When one or both of the people initiated the relationship via cheating on someone else. My rule of thumb is if they'll cheat on someone else with you, they'll cheat on you with someone else. In my experience, the narcissistic character flaws that would cause someone to cheat in the first place are almost impossible to change into adulthood. Why the fuck anyone would want to be with someone who felt okay with emotionally destroying someone else is beyond me. When you can feel that they are not speaking to each other. They might put on a show at the restaurant or with friends, but you notice that every time they have to talk to keep up the show, the other party answers with as few words as possible with no emotions. When my ex-wife and I were getting closer to the end, the silent treatment was our go-to trick, both of us. It really quickly gets tiresome, and other people notice fast. People who tease their partners, but it's mean. Tonight my husband made a rude but accurate joke about my awful singing voice and immediately apologized because it came out kinda harsh like, "YTF do you listen to music I hate in the shower and sing along with your awful, pitchy voice?" We were stoned and alone, and he apologized for ripping on me, and I promptly reminded him that he is just as bad, and we had a laugh. Couples who are like this in an aggressive, mean way in public aren't gonna make it. It's very clear. Having a sense of humor is very important in a relationship, at least to me, but not when it's intentionally pointed, cruel and in public, the latter of which is degrading. Constantly complaining about things their partner does. I had a friend, actually a family member, but we don't talk to her anymore, who would constantly complain about things her boyfriend was doing. Like he was always cheating, always calling her a cunt, bitch, whore, etc., not wanting to hang out or spend time with her, etc. Anytime we'd give her advice, she would ask. Mind you, she'd get mad if we didn't say something she wanted to hear. We all said just break up with him, but that wasn't good enough. Then, she posts constantly on social media about how she's in her first healthy relationship, and how in love they are. I don't keep tabs on her, but his friends always tell me how things are getting worse, and now she's trapped with him because she moved out and is living with him. They always ask me if I can talk her out of leaving, but I've tried. She even calls him ugly and has a folder on her phone of ugly pictures of him and shows it to people. He always makes her leave the house. She flirts with his friends, they constantly fight in front of everyone and will genuinely scream at each other. They've been dating for 4 years now. Don't always trust what people tell you, actions speak louder than words. You can't always help people out, I guess. I just expressed that I couldn't go on with someone I was with for a little over a year. There were a lot of things I couldn't reconcile with, but the main deciding factor is that his ex was in his friend group, and he would go out drinking and hanging out with them a bunch. I've never met the ex or half his friends because he didn't want to invite me. He was worried that it would be awkward for them and didn't want them to exclude him because of me. It sucks, but I've definitely learned a bit more about what I need from a relationship. Despite this, he is a sweet person. He wants to work on himself, and I hope that we can remain friends and support each other. I was just talking to my boyfriend about a few instances of this that I've noticed. One is those people, usually it's one-sided, I've noticed. Typically the woman, who constantly posts pictures, updates about nothing but how perfect their relationship is. There are no rainy days in their relationship, it's all rainbows. Everything is magical and perfect. They won't shut the hell up about how perfect their partner is, and their life revolves around the partner, each other. Another instance I've noticed is those people who constantly tell you how to relationship. They post memes and status updates about how, if you're with someone who really loves you, they'll do everything to make it work. Choose someone who wants to be with you. If a man wants you, he'll make the effort. Don't let anyone disrespect your partner. All men can and will change, but only for the right woman. If he's not changing, you're not the one. etc., but then they also write vague posts about how annoyed they are with their own partner. I guess they're trying to convince themselves. My partner used to take what I said and hear something completely different. For instance, I would say, "Those pants don't go with those shoes," and he would hear, "I am a piece of shit that doesn't know how to dress." Recently, he was finally able to admit and take accountability that he does this, and his mind was blown. He stated that he realized he had been projecting like this forever. He was able to see where it came from and how badly it affects his perception of reality. Luckily, he is back in therapy. I feel like it comes from insecurity and specifically with him being physically and emotionally abused by his father. I remember a few years back we got together with friends one night. We decided to go on their boat to look at the stars and putts around the water. We hadn't seen them for a while and were catching up. Everything was cool at first, but they started taking verbal jabs at each other. These weren't cutesy little roasts and eventually the jabs turned into verbal shots fired. It was so awkward because my husband and I could feel the tension but were essentially trapped on the boat with them. I told my husband on the drive home that I had no idea what happened to them as a couple, but I wasn't comfortable hanging out with them if that's how they wanted to spend their time. Fast forward to today and they are broken up with a restraining order. Self-sabotaging. My ex would constantly self-sabotage the relationship and leave and come back, telling me how fucked up they were and that I deserved better. Listen to your partner. If they tell you that you deserve better, they mean it. It's not your job to fix someone's trauma and issues, and if they constantly mess it up, especially in my case, if they constantly cheated, leave them. I stayed way too long with someone who self-sabotaged and created space between us for no reason, and many of our problems would have been solved if they had just communicated. Also, lack of emotional maturity. Just because they are older doesn't mean they are mature. If they can't take accountability and stop hurting you and themselves, leave. Don't be with someone who is inconsistent and loves when things are peaceful but constantly needs to create problems. When the groom does something that leaves the bride crying in the bathroom at her own wedding reception. I had spoken to my fiancé about cake smashing. I explained that I find the practice demeaning, and I absolutely will not participate. He wholeheartedly agreed that the practice is stupid and he didn't like it. He had about 6 inches and 50 pounds on me, and I trusted him, so I wasn't prepared for it when it happened. I should have asked the minister not to file the marriage license, because the death bell was already ringing. But if a bride is crying in the bathroom because of the groom, something is seriously wrong. Your wedding day shouldn't be the day you realize that your spouse doesn't respect you and can't be trusted to have your best interests at heart. If there is no fluidity in a mutual sexual relationship. I know it's a common joke, but I guess it works either way. If a woman isn't down to please her man, it's over. Any of my relationships stopped some time after the loss of interest in sexual play, and not just sexual, because there were people I loved that even if we never had sex, I would have still stuck with them for the comfort and feelings I had for them. But you can't start out all giving and then withdraw and expect contentment. It's basically shelving your man, just like the shoes, dresses, handbag, using seduction to get the guy you want and then putting him on the shelf, so to speak. If I had to say for other people I do notice guys annoying their girlfriends for no reason, and I often see them asking the guy not to do something, and they just go ahead and do it, and while the relationship might last, I know it will end as a narcissistic abuse situation. Way back in the day, when my husband and I were in our first year of dating, his best friend from high school was getting married. I had only been dating him for 6 months when we drove 12 hours to meet his best friend and his soon-to-be wife. I was 18 at the time, and my husband was 20, the bride and groom were our same age. I had never met, let's call her Kalisha, but we immediately became fast friends. In the week leading up to the wedding, she confessed that sex with her soon-to-be partner was rigid, vanilla, and unfulfilling. She expressed her frustrations with being confined to a small town and having strict parents. We had both just graduated high school months earlier. She was marrying into the military and knew that would take her out of that small desert town as he already had orders to leave, and this was a quick marriage. I was concerned and shared everything I learned with my husband, and we gritted our teeth and twisted our faces into smiles at the wedding. The couple ended up overseas, and Kalisha went wild from what I was told. There was too much partying and philandering on her part, and the marriage ended. Funny enough, some years later, this same husband's best friend remarried someone from back home from high school. When I met her for the first time, she complained about the same vanilla sex. I told my husband again, and what do you know, this man is divorced again. He now has 8 children, is hyperpatriarchal and Christian, and remarried with another on the way. My husband does not associate with him anymore. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on the best Reddit stories.